Melo and our classmates. Today, I'm going to present forecasting. Me, Mamerto J. Organo, will going to present the same topic with the help of my group mate, Miss Michelle F. Organo. Now, proceed to discuss. Forecasting is the process of making predictions of the future based on past and present data. This is most commonly by analysis of trends. A commonplace example might be estimation of some variable of interest at some specified future date. Prediction is a similar but more general term. Both might refer to formal statistical methods employing time series, cross-sectional, and longitudinal data, or alternatively, to less formal judgmental methods. Usage can differ between areas of application. For example, in hydrology, the term forecast and forecasting are sometimes reserved for estimates of value at certain specified future times, while the term prediction is used for more general estimates, such as the number of times floods will occur over a long period. So forecasting is the art and science of predicting that will happen in the future. Sometimes that is determined by a mathematical method. Sometimes it is based on the intuition of the operations manager. Most forecasts and decision are combination of both. So how forecasting fits the operations management philosophy? Forecasting is very essential to any company in its belongs to managing values chains. And one department in operation management together with supply chains, location, inventory, inventory management, sales and operation planning, resource planning, and scheduling. So forecasting has a subtopic will be discussed one by one, such as demand forecast application, demand patterns, elements of good forecasting, strategic importance of forecast, choosing the type of forecasting technique, and judgment method. So forecasting is conducted by what are referred to as time horizons. Uh, Dito po, meron tayo ng short range forecast while it can be up to 1 year. This forecast is usually used for 3 months or less. It is used for planning purchases, hiring job assignments, production levels, and the like. The second one is the medium range forecast. This is generally 3 months to 2 years. Medium range forecasts are used for sales and production planning, budgeting, and analysis of different operation plans. And the third one is long range forecasting or long-term forecasting. Tends to be completed at high level in the organization. The time frame is generally considered longer than 2 years into the future. Detailed knowledge about the products and markets are required due to the high degree of uncertainty. This is commonly the case with new products entering the market, emerging new technologies, and opening new facilities. Open historical data is available. So saglit lang po. For the demand patterns, when we plot our historical product demand, the following patterns can often be found. So number one is trend. A trend is consistent upward or downward movement of the demand. This may be related to the product's life cycle. In cyclical, a cycle is a pattern in the data that tends to last more than 1 year in duration. Often they are related to events such as interest rates, the political climate, consumer confidence, or other market factors. In seasonal. Many products have a seasonal patterns, generally predictable changes and demand that are recurring every year. Fashion products and sporting goods are heavily influenced by seasonality. The next topic is elements of good forecasting. A properly prepared forecast should fulfill certain requirements. A technique that sometimes provides a good forecast and sometimes a poor one will leave users with the uneasy feeling that they may get burned every time a new forecast is issued. Fairly simple forecasting techniques enjoy widespread popularity because users are more comfortable working with them. So the number one elements are the forecast should be timely. A certain amount of time is going to be needed to respond to a new forecast. Capacity can't be expanded overnight, and in order to increase or reduce production to meet the forecast, you are going to need enough time to reconfigure your equipment and processes. Accordingly, try to leave enough time in your forecasting to cover any potentially needed changes. And number two, the forecast should be accurate. So sure, this sounds a little obvious, but any forecasting needs to be as accurate in research as possible. This will enable any user to plan for possible error and will provide a good basis for comparing alternative forecasts. The third one, the forecast should be reliable. In a similar vein to being accurate, a forecast system need to produce the same results every time. Even an occasional error could cause big problems for your overall forecast and projections and could leave user with the uneasy feeling that their system is not as reliable as it should be. The fourth one is the forecast should be in the correct units. The forecast needs to be in a unit of measurement that is the most meaningful to whoever will be using it. If the forecast is primarily financial, measuring it in the cost of the items as opposed to the quantity of items produced will prove more useful, while production planners need to know how many of its unit will be produced, and so on and so forth. And the last one is the forecast should be simple to understand and use. Forecasts that are overly complicated tend not to instill a lot of confidence in users. Make sure your forecasts are thorough enough to cover everything that need to be forecasted, but simple enough that new users can get acclimated quickly. Next topic is strategic importance of forecast. Operation managers have two tools of their disposal by which to make decisions: actual data and forecast. The importance of forecasting cannot be underestimated. Take a product forecast and the functions of human resources, capacity, and supply chain management. The workforce is based on demand. This including hiring, training, and layoff of workers. If a large demand is suddenly thrust upon the organization, training declines in the quality of the product could suffer. When the capacity cannot keep up to the demand, the result is undependable delivery, loss of customers, and maybe loss of market share. Yet, excess capacity can skyrocket costs. So last minute shipping means high cost. Asking for part last minute can raise the cost. Most profit margins are slim, which means either of those scenarios can wipe out a profit margin and have an organization operating at cost or at a loss. These scenarios are why forecasting is important to an organization. Good operation managers learn how to forecast, to trust the numbers, and to trust their instincts to make the right decision for their firm. For choosing the type of forecasting technique, we have judgment methods. This is a type of qualitative methods that translates the opinion of managers, expert opinions, consumer surveys, and sales force estimates into quantitative estimates. We have casual methods. This is a type of quantitative methods that uses historical data on independent variables such as promotional campaigns, economic conditions, and competitors' action to predict demand. Then we time series analysis, a statistical approach that relies heavily on historical demand data to, to project the future to project the future size of demand and recognizes trends and seasonal patterns. And lastly, we have collaborative planning, forecasting, and replenishment or CPFR. This is a 9-step processing for value chain management that allows a manufacturer and its customers to collaborate on making the forecast by using the internet. For judgment method, we have Salesforce estimates. The forecasts that are compiled from estimates of future demands made periodically by members of a company's sales force. Then for executive opinion, a forecast method in which the opinions, experience, and technical knowledge of one of or more managers are summarized to arrive at a single forecast. Under executive opinion can also be used for technological forecasting to keep abreast of the latest advances in technology. For market research, it is a systematic approach to determine external consumer interest in a service or product by creating and testing hypotheses through data gathering surveys. And the last are Delphi method. It is a process of gaining consensus from a group of experts while maintaining their anonymity. So this
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, to
thank you
give
po.
you a additional information about forecasting, of course, as I mentioned a while ago, forecasting method actually, no, business choose between two basic methods when they want to predict what can possibly happen in the future. So we have a qualitative and of course the quantitative methods, no, in forecasting methods. So when we say qualitative methods, no, otherwise known as the judgmental methods, as what discussed by our discussed by our presenter, no, the qualitative forecasting offers subjective results, no, as it is comprised of personal judgment by expert of or forecasters, no. Forecasts are open bias because they are based on the expert knowledge or intuition, no, and experience and rarely on data, making the process non-mathematical. So one example is when a person forecasts the outcome of finals game in the NBA, for example, or PBA or PBL,
Ano?
which of course is
Okay
based.
lang.
Okay, so which is based on more on personal motivation, no? So that is qualitative methods, or as what our presenter mentioned about judgmental, no, judgmental procedure. Now, on the other hand, when we say quantitative method, the quantitative methods of forecasting is a mathematical process, no, making it consistent and objective. It steers away from basing the results on opinion and intuition. So instead, utilizing large amounts of data and figures that are interpreted. No? Now, we have different features of forecasting. No, as what our presenter mentioned, it involves future events based on past and present events and use forecasting techniques. No, because most businesses use the quantitative method, particularly in planning and budgeting. Now, when it comes to the process of forecasting, no, we have developed the basis of forecasting, estimate the future operations of the business, regulate the forecast, and of course, we need to review the process. How about the sources of data for forecasting? We have the primary and secondary. Same with our methods of research. No? When we say primary sources, information from primary sources takes time to gather because it is first-hand information. Also consider the most reliable and trustworthy sort of information. The forecaster himself does the collection and may do so through things such as interviews, questionnaires, and focus groups. While on the other hand, the secondary sources supply information that has been collected and published by other entities. So an example of this type of information might be industry reports, as this information may already been compiled and analyzed, and it makes the process quicker. Okay, so this will be the coverage of the discussion about forecasting. Okay, thank you, presenter.